Well, the ad hoc parliamentary committee probing claims of corruption in the SAPS now set to subpoena the controversial businessman Brown Mokgotsi. They want him to appear in Parliament. Mokgotsi was due to appear before the committee tomorrow. He cancelled that appointment over alleged safety concerns. The committee is currently hearing submissions from the public and civil society groups. Newzroom Afrika's Zoleka Qodashe joins us from Parliament now. Zoleka, good afternoon to you. Why did Brian Mokgotsi cancel this appointment?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to the viewers. Well, essentially, the arguments that have been advanced by the controversial businessman in the Northwest, Brown Mokgotsi, is that he has security concerns that he hopes will be remedied by Parliament's ad hoc committee. Now, we understand that there has been communication between the inquisitorial body as well as Brown Mokgotsi. However, he says that he does not trust the protectors that will be provided by Parliament and instead seeks to have Parliament fund his protectors for a period of 7 days. Now, you'll remember, Stephen, that the period through which witnesses testify before the inquisitorial body has been about 2 days. So he was expected to start his testimony tomorrow, that is Thursday, and finish with his testimony on Friday, where he would have faced several questions from lawmakers as they seek to first gain clarity on the submissions that he's made, but also seek to understand the nature of the relationships that he has had with convicted criminal Vusumuzi Madlala, as well as the minister that's been placed on leave of absence, Senzo Mkhunu. But for more on this, I'm joined by the Chief Whip of the ANC, Mdumiseni Ntuli, just to speak to us about how Parliament seeks to move forward. Now, Section 14 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities Act gives this particular committee as well the powers to actually subpoena Brown Mokgotsi, and this is a mechanism that you, as Parliament's ad hoc committee, has sought to trigger.
No, thanks. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to the viewers. I think Mr. Mokgotsi is placing us in a very difficult position. We have had no intention really to subpoena anyone, including himself. We have that as part of the provision in law in order to deal with witnesses who may be treating us with contempt, which I think is the direction that is gravitating to us too. It's irrational for him to make a demand that the only way he can appear before the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa is when he's provided with 7 security guards to accompany him to Parliament. We only need him here for 2 days, and Parliament is part of this, one of the state organs, state institution. It has a capacity, once he lands in Cape Town, for instance, to provide him sufficient security to appear before the Committee of Parliament. So why is he making such an irrational demand? One is yet to know. But of course, the committee has now taken a decision that we have no other reasons but to subpoena him.
And of course, it's a race against time for the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, because by the 20th of February 2026, there must be a report that will be submitted to the National Assembly for consideration. Now, this presents a difficulty because legally, the Ad Hoc Committee will cease to exist from the 21st if it does not seek an extension, right? What happens in the event that we go beyond, or the Ad Hoc Committee goes beyond the 20th and it no longer has the powers to invoke that particular provision that would allow for a subpoena to Brown Mokgotsi?
Well, our attitude at this point in time is that both Mr. Mokgotsi and Mr. O'Sullivan should be subpoenaed to appear before Parliament. We know and understand that such a process may take quite a long time, even beyond the time in which this committee is supposed to table its report to Parliament. So what we have to do between now and then is to exercise our minds, looking at the laws, and make a determination as to whether we will go back to Parliament for a further extension, or we conclude this work and make a recommendation to Parliament which will force the two of them, or anyone who may behave in the same way that they do, probably to appear before another platform that can be designated by Parliament. But they can't escape appearing before the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa. The conundrum that we find ourselves in is a matter that we have to exercise our mind looking at the options we have and make a determination about what would be the best way forward.
And those, of course, Parliament already has the Justice Committee as well as the Police Committee. So those are forums in which these two parties are able to appear?
Well, you are quite correct. I mean, we as an ad hoc committee, the Speaker, when the ad hoc committee was established, had referred the matter to both the Police and the Justice portfolio committees, as a consequence of which the two committees made a recommendation that resulted in the formation of the ad hoc committee. So in an event where it becomes difficult or impossible for an appearance before the ad hoc committee, I'm quite certain those are some of the options that we'll have to think about. But our legal team is going to guide us in terms of what becomes the best way forward between having them appearing in probably one of those or joint committees, or else to consider another whatever days of extension in order to accommodate their availability before the committee. But that they have to appear before the committee is a matter that we do not want to negotiate. It's important, it has to happen. And I mean, this conduct of Mr. Mkhotsi is really very bad, because it demonstrates a level of contempt towards Parliament, which we don't think that citizens of this country in particular should act in that way against a Parliament whose formation, as we all know, was a result of many efforts and sacrifices by South Africans.
Chief Whip, there's also the issue of Paul O'Sullivan, right, the forensic investigator, and there are some arguments that if the attitude that Parliament's ad hoc committee has adopted in relation to Brown Mkhotsi, the same attitude must be adopted for Paul O'Sullivan. Now, he has previously said that there are members of Parliament that he refuses to account to. He's mentioned the MK Party, he's mentioned the EFF as well, and I think Action SA as well, right? Which also may be viewed as contemptuous. Parliament is seized with the same problem in relation to Paul O'Sullivan. How does it seek to deal with that? Because there's also been remarks by members of Parliament in relation to why it's taken so long to get the process rolling in relation to Paul O'Sullivan.
We are going to have to treat him in the same way we're treating Mr. Mkhotsi. What members were expressing earlier on is a concern that we might not have acted timelessly in terms of ensuring that he's also subpoenaed to appear before the committee. And this contention that there are certain members or political parties or members who come from certain political parties that he does not respect will not apply, because we are not here as representative of, he's not appearing before the ANC, the MK Party, the EFF, the DA, PA, and Action SA, IFP, and others. He's appearing before Parliament. The fact that Parliament in South Africa is constituted, like anywhere in the world, is constituted largely by people who are representing certain political parties does not take away the fact that once you walk into these chambers, you are first and foremost a member of Parliament, and of course it's understood that you are coming from a political party. So he can't say that, because if certain political parties have adopted certain views or positions towards him, those are positions of parties, not parliamentary position, and he is being called to appear before a committee of Parliament. So that argument doesn't hold. I think it's one of the delaying tactics. He wants to appear before us and take us into an unnecessary discussion about who can ask him questions and who cannot ask him questions, and we don't think that is correct.
Let's talk about the terms of reference of the ad hoc committee. They also provide for virtual appearances in exceptional circumstances. Why is this a mechanism that is not used by Parliament's ad hoc committee to ensure that at least these people do have a say in relation to their testimony before the inquisitorial body? Look,
in our assessment at the moment, the conditions and the circumstances under which they are insisting that they do not want to appear before the parliamentary ad hoc committee are not exceptional. We are of the view that we are not yet at the point where we would say, look, under these circumstances, there's no better way rather than to have them appearing in a virtual platform. We have resisted that approach. Only the committee has been meeting on its own when we're dealing with what we call our own internal work and arrangements. But when we deal with witnesses, you can see even civil society and the public, we believe that it's in the best interest of the Republic that they appear before us. Because see, when you're on a virtual platform, let me tell you what might happen, and we can't control it. Somebody will say, my network has got a problem, You might have a sitting for the whole day, but only benefit for half an hour because of the challenges that you have no control over. But when we are sitting here, there's no excuse like that. And our view is that at this point in time, we are not faced with exceptional circumstances, as a consequence of which we may have to take a decision to deal with them virtually. If it happens down the road, as we exercise the options we have, because when you subpoena somebody, they are going to resist that. Some of them naturally go to court, and that may impose on us a particular responsibilities, cost associated with going to court and all of that. If and when the committee thinks at some point in time, let's rather pursue the option of a virtual hearing with any of the witnesses that are due to appear before us, that decision will be taken then. But at this point in time, we are very convinced that there are really no basis to classify their concerns as what we may call exceptional circumstances.
Those security concerns in relation to Paul O'Sullivan, do you not think they constitute exceptional circumstances?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's just a dramatic person. He says when he writes an email to us, he knows when he walks into Parliament he's going to be murdered. He knows that we want him to be subjected to that kind of a situation. It's sensationalization and drama. We are dealing with these matters as members of Parliament. I believe that at some point we were asked about our own security, the extent to which we may be exposed to elements in society who are opposed to the work that we're doing and who may take certain decisions against us. And we said, we can't say we're not going to do our work merely because we're scared of death. It can't happen like that. And for them, unlike us, they are guaranteed when they land in Cape Town, and from where they travel to Cape Town, that Parliament takes full responsibility for their security. I think much more even better than us, who are members of Parliament and who are having to deal with these matters in a way that at times makes certain people unhappy in our country, including those who may be criminals. So really, the issue that they are worried about at this point in time, we are very convinced that it doesn't hold. They must appear before the committee, and together with the committee and the security team of Parliament and the police, if an assessment is conducted to come to the conclusion that it's impossible for the state through Parliament to provide them with security, we can then deal with them. But at the moment, really, they are presumptuous, and they are communicating a message of how they think of the democratic state and its capacity to provide security to its citizens, let alone an individual. I think it's much more easy to secure one individual upon landing in Cape Town and taking care of their security operations until they get to Parliament.
That was leading to my final question. Have security assessments been done on both these parties?
I'm not aware of it. I will have to check with the chair of the committee in an event where such processes were done. But from what they've been saying to us themselves, it's only about their own concerns, not necessarily that there were a particular threat to their lives, which they've alerted us to, as a consequence of which they believe Parliament has no capacity to protect them against. So we are not aware of any security assessment done for them. I mean, many people have appeared before us here who have said very, very difficult things against other people, which may somehow place them at a particular level of discomfort about their security. But nevertheless, they proceeded to come here. And I mean, there's nothing exceptional about Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and Mr. Mdumiseni. They're just citizens like all of us. They have to appear before the committee. That is in the best interest of our people, that we run a very efficient and effective session with them. If at some point we have to decide that any of them must be seen virtually, it will be because circumstances are forcing us to do so. But at the moment, nothing is exceptional. We need them to come before us.
Thank you. That was the Chief Whip of the ANC and also one of the members of the ad hoc committee, just speaking to us about the choice or the decision that Parliament has made in relation to Brown Mokhotsi and choosing to trigger Section 14 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities Act in ensuring that they subpoena him and summon him to appear before the inquisitorial body before it concludes its work on the 20th of February 2026. Stephen.
Zoleka, thank you so much for that. Zoleka Qodashe. Well,